word Rebbetzin sometimes has a mashmoyis, like, big, scary person, a preacher, a person that preaches a lot. She wasn't that type.
She was unintimidating. She didn't hold herself as a big, popular Rebbetzin. She considered herself Mrs. Zucker.
All she was looking for was to do Ratzon Hashem. She wasn't looking for personal interests.
She was the motherly role model to so many. So many people in Chicago and throughout the world, they really lived their life. What would Rebbetzin Zucker say? What would Rebbetzin Zucker do? How would Rebbetzin Zucker handle the situation? And now, unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that mother to turn to.
On the one hand, Rebbetzin Zucker was always working on her avodas Hashem, davening, tznius, helping through Kollel and her sons and sons-in-law to learn, and gemilas chasadim. But on the other hand, she was grounded, so that when my wife asked her advice, she knew that it would be practical, but with a source of ruchnius.
She had a meshunadike pikrus in a Havanan people, and she had a meshunadike pikrus in Havana in situations, in deciding situations. I think that's one area that the whole family feels a void. There's so many decisions. What would mommy say? What would Bobby say? And she decided these things, and what she said, that was Torah. That was the psak.
When she moved to Chicago, she was very happy that she found a large house. She always wanted a big house, that way you could have guests, people could sleep over.
The Achnasas Orchem is, whatever has been stated has been understated. The house is mamish, open all the time, people coming and going, all types of people.
People could come even with last minute's notice or no notice at all.
Each time we arrived and when the door was open, we immediately noticed the light, the beauty of the Shabbos, the Kedusha. It was a very warm feeling.
Rebbetzin Zucker, Zechon Levracha, was a tzedkonis who really doesn't need a dinner to commemorate her zikaron. Her tremendous ma'asim tovim, her hundreds of talmidos, which she imbued with avas Torah, Yirut Shamayim, her legendary Achnasas Orchem, and Chesed. But above all, the crown jewel of her life, that she gave us, a husband, a goyin, and a tzaddik, Rav David Zucker, a mystic gadol bat Torah v'Yirut Shamayim.
Rebbetzin Zucker would do everything possible to maximize her husband's learning.
She got that from her appearance. Her mother had a Mesiras Nefesh in a time when it was unpopular to marry a Ben Torah, and she waited around and she married my grandfather.
My father said over by the Levaya a story about my mother when she broke her wrist, and she did not want to take my father out from learning. She wanted to go herself to the hospital. But what was most amazing about that was that was not a moment of inspiration. That was after 40 years of a life that was devoted to completely making sure my father's be able to learn undisturbed, to make sure her children, make sure in the light in the Kollel, and whoever it was that was negayah to be able to enable them to learn. That was her natural immediate response.
One of the most incredible stories that were said about Rebbetzin Zucker were said in passing by the Levaya. When the Kollel David spoke, he said that when the Rebbetzin first found out of her machla, it was Friday morning, and the doctor came over to her house. Reb David was in Kollel. And then Reb David went on to say he came home and his wife broke the news to him. Think about it for a minute. This woman found out probably the hardest piece of news in her life. Any normal person would say, how could I digest this myself? Call her husband and say, please come home. She didn't disturb him. Reb David said that part of the story as if it was pashut.
Even when she was going for treatments, her husband went to the doctor with her once or twice, but if it wasn't absolutely necessary, she did not want to disturb his learning.
I remember one morning when we got word that the Rebbetzin was really not doing well, And I look over and I see the Rosh Kollel, Reb David, was sitting in his seat and learning with his chavrusa as if there was nothing else in his world going on. And again, I think the message was clear to him that, this is what the Rebbetzin wants.
My wife told me one time I came home after a particularly tough day, and I asked her, why didn't you call me? And she said that if Mrs. Zucker could go to chemotherapy herself, so that the Rosh Kollel could learn second Seder, then I'll manage a few fetchy kids and a migraine.
Somebody might say that her chashivas of Torah was because her husband. Your wife, Rosh Kollel, you machshav his Torah a lot, but it's not true. She was machshav anybody's Torah.
Rabbi Akiva said, Shali v'shalachem shalah. And certainly the same could be said of Rebbetzin Zucker, that she has a chelik not only in her husband's learning, but the learning of everyone in the Kollel and everyone in the community that benefits from her husband's learning.
The environment of the Kollel is so warm and so friendly that it helps me be a better person because, I want to be like them.
Torah is attained by the acceptance of the old Torah, the yoke of Torah. It's a demanding yet extremely beneficial oil for the entire family. The husband alone cannot carry this oil. It's only through a joint commitment of both husband and wife that this oil can be carried and the benefits can be reaped.
There are times that I look around the Beis Medrash and I see Balabatim left, right, and center, and it's such a Kiddush Hashem, and there's an element of uniqueness to their Mesiras Nefesh and to their wives' Mesiras Nefesh for those times.
All of these people are doing it only because their wives are encouraging them to do it, and they certainly deserve a lion's share of the credit.
We can always find a reason that, why we can't do it. We had a long day, the kids are crying, we didn't see our spouses. Every reason why not to do it. But the lesson from Rebbetzin Zucker is there is no excuse. You just go learn.
All of us know, whether it's a younger man, whether it's a Balabas, whether it's a Rosh Kollel, whether it's anybody who comes and takes off time from their daily schedule to come learn understands that it comes with a shutvus.
Each one combines their efforts for the eventual schar. Sometimes she'll bring in the schar, and sometimes he'll bring in the schar. She could be Moshe Nefesh for him to go out to learn, and he'll get stuck in traffic, and won't get to the Beis Medrash. But they'll still get schar because she was Moshe Nefesh for him to learn. And sometimes she won't need to be Moshe Nefesh because she'll have help and she won't need him around the house. And he'll go out to learn and she'll still get schar because he's sitting and learning. Together, they form this unity of chizuk HaTorah and limud HaTorah.
100% the schar is not split up. It's not $100 and then you split up 50-50. That's not the way it works with schar. Schar is rather, it's 100-100. Everybody gets 100% of the schar.
The wives of the Rosh Kollel, the wives of the younger light, and we could say Rosh Rishon, the Choshev Rebbetzin Zucker, that she went to Chicago 32 years ago. She embarked on this shlichus together with her husband, and she had a tremendous yad in building the Mokum Torah, and we could surely say that she was Mekayim her shlichus b'shleimus.
When she heard of her impending tragedy, her reaction was not one, the way we understand that her reaction was not one of depression or despondency. Her reaction was godlessdik. Her reaction was a greatness. Her reaction was, let's be mechazik myself, and mechazik myself and my family. Tischach liyoyim achroin.
Ashver said, right before the P'tira, a few hours before the P'tira, he was talking to the whole family, and he said that for the past 40 years, whatever it is, our Shviger was the Rebbe for us on a lot of things. She taught us tznius, she taught us chesed, tefillah. For the past 4.5 months, since she got sick, she was a Rebbe to us, a teacher in the Darga of Amunah.
The fact that she had no other interest except to continue the way she was living her life until then by teaching the same way, davening the same way, and doing everything else the same way, made it possible for us to understand that that's just the way the world is, and if she recognized it, we should obviously recognize it as well.
The feeling she gave over to us was that we can't let life stop.
When I heard about the loss of Rebbetzin Zucker, I cried. I cried for my daughter, I cried for the daughters of the school of Hannah Sachs, and I cried for the whole community.
I would say that not a day goes by that my wife doesn't think about something she wished she could ask her, or wish she could discuss with her, or wish that she could just see her.
I think the legacy that she leaves over is just living a focused life, living a life with a focus of what our job is in this world, what we're here to do, what we're here to accomplish.
Every person's life is different, but the question is always the same. What does Hashem want from us? And her life was about responding to that question. And she always looked for the Ratzon Hashem in everything.
Rebbetzin Zucker personified a woman who was constantly engaged in doing Avodas Hashem. She didn't wear it on her sleeve. She didn't talk about it. She was the person who had 12 children. She was the person who was involved in Hachnosis Orchim par excellence. She had many people at her house, all different types of people, from Rosh Yeshiva to Gedolei Ador to Nitzrochim, all different types of people were at her house. She made it look easy. She was married to the Rosh Kollel, the biggest masmidim in the city, not the biggest masmidim in the country. And she made it look easy. She was an incredible teacher to all of the women, to all of the men, and to all of the people in the community. She will be forever missed.